This video was made possible thanks to my friends at Kiwana Chevrolet GMC. Feel free to check out their inventory at kiwanacars.com. There's a link in the description. This is a 2022 Buick Enclave, and it has to be GM's nicest 7-passenger full-size crossover. I have to choose my words there carefully. And why do I have to choose my words carefully? It's because GM makes a whole bunch of 7-passenger vehicles. We got the Tahoe, the Suburban, the Yukon, the Escalade, the Traverse, the Acadia. They make a lot of stuff. But, however, when it comes to the crossover segment, GM actually hasn't really made a 7-passenger luxury crossover aside from this. Now, yes, the Cadillac XT6 exists, but that's technically only a 6-passenger vehicle if you... Oh wait, no, I don't think you can get that vehicle in a 7-passenger configuration. And the Acadia Denali at the time? Yeah, same deal. That was 6-passenger only if you wanted the nicer Acadia. So the truth is, if you actually wanted a nice crossover, not an SUV, from General Motors, this would be the nicest one you could get that can seat 7. And because of that fact, that's why you see so many Enclaves on the road, especially around here in Houghton. Every single drive I take, I always spot an Enclave, be it from this generation or the previous generation. This thing has been refreshed so many times. It's actually on its 4th refresh. Well, it's technically 2nd generation, but it's a refresh within the 2nd generation. Yeah, they've refreshed this car a couple of times, but my goodness, did Buick build one nice car? And it's a shame that of the massive departure that they've made from basically designing cars for America at this point. But before we ran into the issue where Buick basically stopped designing cars for America, this is basically the single nicest 3-row crossover that can seat up to 7 you can get from General Motors. Even though this is closer to the base model, this is not actually a base model this time. This is actually the mid-trim, the Essence model, which is, well, if you guys watch this channel frequently, you know that my personal daily driver is a 2019 Buick LaCrosse Essence, the hybrid model, but yeah, it is a mid-spec trim, even though it feels very base model. And if I had to guess, because everyone's been on a, well, budget crunch, but still wants nice cars, I would expect that the Essence version of this car is very popular amongst the 3-row crossover market. And so, what did Buick actually offer with this specific car at this time? Because there is a new Enclave, and unfortunately, getting my hands on that thing is going to be a little more easier said than done. Primarily because, again, due to Buick wanting to downscale for the American market, that means, despite that this dealership here actually used to be known as Kiwana Chevrolet Buick GMC, unfortunately, because of Buick wanting to downscale, this is no longer a Buick dealership. The only reason this is on the lot is because it's a certified pre-owned car that somebody had traded this in for. So that means technically, yes, this is a used car, but unlike the Cadillac I just filmed, because this is certified pre-owned, this is a very nice and clean example. So without further ado, let's actually get into the spec dump and take you on a tour. Luckily, in terms of powertrain specs for the spec dump, there's only one powertrain choice available for this car, and that's a 3.6 liter V6, naturally aspirated. This engine produces up to 110 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission, and my particular tester today has all-wheel drive, though you can get it in front-wheel drive configurations if all-wheel drive is something that doesn't matter to you. And in terms of fuel economy, that nets you around 17 miles per gallon city, 25 miles per gallon highway, and 20 miles per gallon combined, according to the EPA. And due to our 21.7 gallon fuel tank, that'll give you a range estimated to be around 369 miles in the city to a maximum of 543 miles on the highway. This thing is capable of towing up to a maximum of 5,000 pounds, and the average asking price for one of these on the market I found is roughly around $25,000, based off of mileage and condition of this vehicle. Starting up front, we obviously will come to our styling, which, oh, does this thing make a presence on the road? I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this, because for one, it's, well, pretty standout, but at the same time, it's got some odd design choices going on. So our first design choice is our daytime running light / LED turn signal here, which, oh, good news, the lighting here is fully LED. But here's the weird thing about the lighting. This is just your daytime running light and turn signal. The actual headlight is a module down here for some weird reason. And yeah, there's no fog lights on this. And then in terms of the grille here, I want to discuss that real quick. Apparently there's two different grille faces you can get. Either you can get this, which is the default, but if you go for a Buick's Avenir line, you'll get a completely, totally different grille design. Along with these two wings that span across the Buick logo. That was a new thing that they brought for 2017 with my car in particular. And I'm also happy to see the tricolor shield right here for Buick's insignia. And in terms of what's under the hood of the Buick Enclave, it's GM's tried and true 3.6 liter V6. If I recall, this is also paired to a 9-speed automatic. I'll correct myself in the spec dump as always, but nice big engine, nice healthy power figures for this, and so I expect it to not be sluggish on the roads, which, oh thank goodness, because if I recall correctly, GM has actually moved away from the V6 on the next generation Traverse, Acadia, and Enclave. So not particularly happy with that. So if you want to make sure that you have an engine that's not going to be stressed too much when getting up to speed, this is probably the one you're going to want to go with, the V6 here. And it's also nice that because this is a Buick, we don't have to have any prop rods or anything silly to hold up the hood. And of course, in terms of our size class of this vehicle, considering that this is a 3-row crossover, it's obviously on the larger end of the class. And GM tends to have larger than average 3-row crossovers. And that remains true for the Enclave here. So in terms of classification, you might hear some reviewers claim this is a mid-size SUV, but considering that this is technically a crossover and not an SUV, the SUVs are vehicles like the Chevy Suburban or the Chevy Tahoe, the GMC Yukon. Those are SUVs. They're based on truck platforms. This is supposed to be a cross between a sedan or a station wagon and an SUV, where it's based on a car-like platform, but the size of an SUV. That's why they call these crossovers. It's a crossover between the two platforms. And so I technically call these vehicles full-size crossovers, and they feel every bit of full size that you can think of. I'd also like to touch on the paint, because typically I don't ever see weird paint colors like this. If I recall, Buick calls this paint color sage green, which, yeah, in the right light, it does actually look pretty green. Other times it just looks like an oceany, foamy blue or something like that. Hey, Buick loves their strange colors. I mean, if it hadn't been obvious with Stardust, my personal daily driver, yeah, Buick likes strange colors, and they like making it really difficult to report to the authorities what the heck is the color of the car. I know I normally don't talk about styling on the side that much, but can I just point out that this actually is kind of nifty in terms of its styling. I like how it's got the swoopy nature, and then they tried to give it a floating roof design, but sorry, it doesn't really sell me on that. But I don't know. I like that they tried, including with Buick's signature port vent design, where, oh, it does actually signify that, yes, there is a 6-cylinder under the hood, which is Buick's general tradition, except they didn't follow that with my car for some reason. Onto the fuel door, you'll be happy to know that it's on the driver's side, aka the correct side of the car. It's also capless, and you can basically put standard fuel in it. Taillights, my old enemy, because we can never get taillights right on GM vehicles for some reason. You'd think we have this whole slab right here. You'd think they'd actually put that to some sort of use, but no. This is just styling. This shiny piece right here is all styling. Your taillights are all condensed into this right here being both your brake light and your turn signal, which you guys know how much I love when any automaker does that. That was sarcasm, by the way. Reverse lights right here, and yeah, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Brake lights and turn signals should never be the same bulb. Brake lights should always be red, and turn signals should always be amber. It's that simple. Why is it this hard? One thing that I would like to complain though about the design, it's not the most offensive thing in the world, but when it comes to more luxury vehicles, I typically don't like to see the rear wiper just sticking out, jutting out right here. I typically like to see it tucked in under the spoiler here, just hiding it away. It just cleans up the design and it looks better. Although I have to admit, the general design of the rear end of this car, it looks very, very, let's just say bubbly, because we got this bubble right here with the Buick insignia. Got these strange taillights right here, and just, yeah, it's a bit of an odd looking rear end, but it's not the most offensive thing I've seen in the world. And in terms of a power trunk, well, we do have a hands-free liftgate option, which I think needs to be turned on this because, let me see if I can activate it. Nope, it needs to be turned on. All right, well, screw that. Let's just open it up the traditional way. And a big reason why people buy these full-size crossovers is, well, they need to fit a lot of people and stuff. And this is why GM is typically on the larger end of the spectrum. Oops, I forgot to turn the hazards off. Because behind the third row here, you actually have enough room for suitcases and duffel bags, as long as your packing skills are, well, pretty okay. This isn't going to be as much space as you can get in a full-size SUV or a minivan, which is a big reason why I'm not particularly a fan of these crossovers, but I mean, it's all right. But let's take a look at amenities before we actually test out the amount of space we have in here. So under the floor here, we got this pull tab, and we got basically a little sub-trunk where you can hide some more stuff. I don't see anything about... Oh, no, we do have a spare tire. Okay, it's just hit it in even further under here. We have a 12-volt power outlet on the side right here, along with some LED cargo illumination right on top. And that pretty much showcases everything back here in terms of features. So now let's get in and try testing out the trunk space. So already, immediately I can tell that if I were to try to close the trunk right now, I am not going to fit back here behind the third row, which is typically the case with these crossovers. Genuinely, if you're looking for a vehicle that can haul both people and cargo, these things really are not it. What you're really actually looking for is a minivan, despite how much people dread the thought of owning a minivan. But hey, that's the reality when it comes to buying a car like this. But overall, it's okay. In terms of space, it's just do not put anything tall back here or it will get crushed by the trunk. But because we have access to a whole bunch of other cargo capacity, let's see how much we can actually expand this space to. So we've got, I believe, power folding rear seats is an option, but because this is closer to the base model, it's a mid-spec model, it doesn't actually have it. So you just pull these straps to pull the seats down like so. Oh, excuse me, apparently you gotta pop this seat belt first to do that, which actually, let me pull out my second camera and I'll show you how to do that. So to pop the seat belt in here so you can fold down the third row seat, all you're going to need to do is there's this button on the back of the remote fob right here. You're going to push said button and then, come on, there we go. Out will slide the physical key for the vehicle, and all you have to do is just stick that into that little tab right there. And I can't really do this one-handed, I need two hands. But you're gonna stick the key in that tab right there, and then poof, the seatbelt is detached, and you can fold it up here and hide it away in a storage slot just like that. Now you can easily fold down the third row. Let me move that second row seat up forward a little more. Well, there, now our cargo space seems a tad more reasonable. It's just now you've reduced your seating capacity from 7 to 4, if that's problematic. But wow, oh my goodness, there's actually a lot of space in here now with just by folding down the third row. And then we can take it a step further by folding down the second row. There's a couple levers up here that you are going to have to come around to the passenger doors to do it. But let me see if I can reach. Yep, I can. Well, it just folds down simple like that. I can't fold this down because I got the passenger seat too far forward and I am done shuffling around this vehicle. Just showcase seating capacity, but well, let's see what we got for car camping capabilities. Not comfortable at all because this floor is not really all that flat now, albeit I got the seat a little too far forward right now. I'm sure if you scooched it back you'd be okay, but car camping, I'd stick to just sleeping in the front seats and not using the trunk like this. But hey, that's what's nice about these full-size crossovers. Their cargo spaces are very flexible, so that way, hey, you need more seats? You got more seats. You need more space? You got more space. It's a big reason why America loves these things, even though minivans still do it better. But of course, people don't just buy the Enclaves just solely for the cargo space alone. They also buy it because they have really nice interiors. And so, if I can grab the right key, because I got the wrong one at the moment. No, that's the same one. What the hell? And so to get in, I've already mentioned, this is basically the key fob to the vehicle. And actually, they slightly updated this for this refresh. Because despite that this looks very similar to my car keys, they actually have the tricolor insignia within the lock button right here. But yeah, it's a very interesting design here where you got the Buick logo to function as your lock button, and then the button below, if you press and hold, that'll remote start the vehicle, and then if you push and hold the same, it'll shut that off too. You'll find your trunk button along with your panic alarm, and then I've already shown you how to pop the key out of this thing. And so yeah, relatively nice key fob. Although there is one thing that I would complain about, it's just the way that GM does their smart entry system once again, because well, unfortunately there is no sensor behind the handle. You are unfortunately going to have to push the button in order to actually unlock the vehicle, which GM really needs to finally get away from that and put actual sensors behind the handles. But opening up the door here, got really interesting color combination. I was expecting another jet black interior because that's basically the only color options this dealership stocks. But to my surprise, no, we actually have a gray interior, which I'll leave that to you to be the judge of whether you like gray interiors or not. I'd rather this over jet black because it at least will not get as blazing hot, but it's still overall a bit of a dark interior aesthetic if, well, that matters to you or not. In terms of your seats, there's the standard 8-way power adjustment with 2-way lumbar. These are basically the same seats out of my car, just, well, gray instead of black. And then let's see, step in height. This is a little bit on the taller end, and so I kind of have to climb my way in just a touch, especially considering I'm short, but a step in height is not the worst. I've been in worse step in height vehicles. And then when we shut the door, not the best thunk, but it's okay. It's relatively fine. And to start up the engine, it's the same as, well, basically any other push button start vehicle. You put your foot on the brake and then you push this nice aluminum parallelogram of a button to start the engine. So let's do that. And because it is so flippin' hot in here, I'm immediately turning on that climate control because, oh, is it hot in here. So yeah, pardon the fan noise, but I would like to not die of heat stroke if at all possible. So let's start with the cabin tour with the tour of our materials. We got a soft touch leatherette plastic material right here. You'll have some fake wood trim that's kind of grayed out. It's an interesting wood looking trim. You'll have a real aluminum door handle along with, is this chrome or plastic? This feels more like plastic trim. That's interesting because in my car, the LaCrosse, which this is Buick's flagship crossover, my car over there, Stardust, is Buick's flagship sedan, and I got nicer materials than that. This feels very plasticky, which is a bit unusual. The armrest here is leather though, proper leather padding, and oh, is it comfortable actually. And since we're here at our window switches, it appears that the driver's window is fully automatic, but the passenger, while it is fully auto down, it is not auto up, which is a shame for the misses riding along in the car. And in terms of down here, I keep missing this in so many other videos. We got a little water bottle holder here. I don't think it's meant for big water bottles, so just be advised about that. And the door pocket storage in general is not exactly all that practical, if I'm being honest. You'll also find your button right here that will actually control your trunk. You can actually change the trunk height settings by twisting this dial here. You can either set it to shut the trunk off. Basically, the trunk will never power itself open. You can just have it open to 3/4 of its full height. And then of course you can open it to the full height. And in terms of carrying on our material tour, we got this same leatherette material with harder touch plastic further up from that. We do, yep, still leatherette material. We come to more fake wood and fake chrome, or excuse me, fake aluminum, but it's not the worst. I felt worse. And yeah, it's just a general leatherette material throughout the rest of the cabin. The only places where you'll find real leather are basically your armrests on the doors and then the actual seats themselves. Otherwise, the rest is basically a leatherette material. And I will say, nice that they put a leatherette space right where your knee's gonna bump against. That's a good design decision. And of course, because this is GM build quality, it's not as tight or fit and finish, but again, these are soft materials, and I will say this beats any Chrysler product in the history of the automotive world. Oh, I'm just now noticing we got piano black here too. That's not particularly nice, but oh well. Alright, continuing on our tour after materials, we'll come to our electronic parking brake along with our interior dimmer switch, which brings us to our nice, barely 4-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel. Oh, this is a nice quality leather. And then the stitching quality is pretty well too. Mine's actually starting to fray on my car, so I might need a new steering wheel. And in terms of what we got the same general layout of our cruise control settings right here. I don't know if this is adaptive yet, because GM took a while to give you adaptive cruise on lower end models, but if I had to guess, this probably isn't the adaptive cruise. It's probably still just basic standard cruise. But then you also find your forward collision warning, and then your heated steering wheel, which is really nice up here in the winter. On the other side, you'll find your media controls for your little tiny gauge cluster right there, which is weird because it's a combination of a scroll wheel and then some buttons. It's a tad odd, but it gives you basically everything you at least want to know, such as your speed, you've got trip information, your nav, phone settings, such and such. My one complaint though is, if I had to guess, let's see, traction and stability. Oh no, they put traction control in here. Oh, this is the worst place to put it. I had a GMC Terrain loaner car once, and this is where they hid the traction traction control. Literally the worst place to hide it, especially when winter comes around. So yeah, that's not a good move on them. But yeah, your media controls will be right here. And then on the back of the steering wheel, you'll find controls for your seek and your volume controls on the back of the steering wheel, along with your paddle shifters, in which we'll get to that in a minute. You'll find your headlight controls here on the turn signal stock, and then your wiper controls is a separate stock on its own. I believe these are rain sensing wipers. I think they are. And then to actuate the rear wiper, that's actually on the end of this stock right here too. Next, we move on to storage, in which this car, well, should have plenty of. So we'll start off with the center console here. We have a little tray right here that's hiding more storage, but oh wow, does that go very deep. I don't see any light or power connections, but there is a removable cleaning tray right there. Yeah, nice divided storage and such. So fairly spacious center console. We move up here, we'll find our cup holders, where they'll store pretty okay cups, but I wouldn't try to fit any big water bottles in there. And then up in front of that, we'll have a phone wireless charging pad where, let's see, does it start charging the phone? And it does charge the phone. And there is no air conditioning vent, so I hope your phone does not get too hot, otherwise that'd be unfortunate. And this is where you'll find some power connections. You'll find your USB-A and your Type-C. This right here is the SD card slot for the navigation system, which, yeah, you'll probably guess that this car does not have it, but... And then down below, we'll have a center pass-through with, I believe, is this another 12-volt outlet? Yep, there's a 12-volt outlet down there, which is always appreciated. So yeah, pretty decent storage in here. Just my only complaint is just the door pockets. They're a tad small. And the only reason why the storage is so good in here is because of our electronic shifter, which is interesting because if I recall, the pre-refresh version of this Enclave actually had the exact same shifter pulled out of my car, which is a joystick style kind. But for the refresh, they decided to actually go for these push button style right here. So I guess I'll give you a tour of how this works. So in terms of getting into drive, you got this whole trigger right here that you pull up on, and now the car is in drive. For neutral, it's just a piano black plastic button right there. Oh, I forgot to shift the car manually, that's this L button right here. And again, you can shift using these paddle shifters. Let's see how many gears we have in the transmission real quick. 9. We've got 9 gears for this transmission. For neutral, just push that button right there to get you into neutral. And then for reverse, you got another pull trigger. So the buttons that get you into motion are designed to be pull triggers so you can't accidentally drop something on them. And once we get into reverse, we're greeted with a backup camera with, oh, unfortunately, this is the fisheye design, so I hope you're not too bothered by fisheye cameras. And we get basic trajectory lines as well, and then your seat vibrates when your parking sensors go off. I'm sure you can get a 360-degree camera on higher-end models. This is, again, a mid-spec model, so I'm not surprised that it's missing. Yeah, basic backup camera. And then for park, all you have to do is just push the aluminum bright... Actually, yeah, this does feel like real aluminum this time. Just push the P, and you're in park. Moving up, this takes us to our climate controls, where we have dual zone automatic. Well, actually, excuse me, we have tri-zone automatic. It's just the third zone is not controlled through up here. But yeah, dual zone, you can see right here. You can control your fan speed, your auto button, your recirculatory. And you might have noticed we have 3-stage heated seats right here. And on higher models, these 2 buttons here would be for your 3-stage ventilated seats. Again, mid-spec model. It needs to be put on this. It needs to be optioned onto this vehicle. But you might be noticing this is kind of missing some of your functions, and so they give you a climate button here to take you to a screen that will showcase basically every function you need, including your zones. And then this is where you can also view the rear climate screen right here to control all that stuff too, as well as your lockout function in case your kids are constantly fighting over it. And I guess this is where we come to our audio system, where I'm not seeing the Bose branding, so I'm not sure if this is the optional Bose system or if this is the base system, but we're about to find out. So let us take an audio sample. the bass system. I can definitely tell this is the bass system just by the soundstage. I will admit, because this is a big vehicle, it can get pretty loud in here because the sound system has more air to work with. But in general, in terms of sound quality, there is an upgraded option from this, but hey, it's actually okay. It's tuned relatively okay. And I guess that takes us to our infotainment system, where we've got these buttons right here to control your volume knob right here along with power. You'll get your home button right here and a back button right here along with quick seek buttons. And then yeah, that takes us to the infotainment system right here, where it's GM's Infotainment 3 system, which is very simple, very easy to use, because again, this is a relatively base mid-spec model. I'm serious, you can actually get lower end versions of this Enclave. Despite that I've been saying this is a base model for quite a while, there are some options that this thing can be unequipped with, such as a bunch of safety systems or all-wheel drive, for example. But overall, the infotainment system, I've showcased this in many other GM vehicles. It's the same thing that's easy to use. The settings are pretty easy to understand with teen driver settings and all that, along with the valet mode. And then the biggest deal for me is, despite that, no, this does not actually have navigation. It just has OnStar Nav, which is very clunky to use. You do, however, have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which fixes this problem so much because now you have the choice of how many different maps you got. Apple Maps, Google Maps, Waze. If there's any others you can think of, then there's that too. And so overall, it's hard to complain with the infotainment system. It's easy to use, easy to understand, and there's just, yeah, not much to complain about for GM's infotainment system. I should talk about the buttons on the side here. We've got our button to defeat our auto start stop system, along with our all-wheel drive system. We have hazards here, along with toggling our parking sensors. And then we also have, is this lane departure or lane keep? I think this is lane keep assist. So yeah, that's an option that this vehicle has. Along with blind spot monitoring, you might have noticed on the mirrors. We do have an auto dimming rear view mirror right here. And if we move further up, we got GM's OnStar buttons, of course. And then we also have LED illumination, along with your universal HomeLink remotes. Pop this down, you get a sunglasses holder. We do not have a sunroof on this particular model. You can get a panoramic sunroof option on this, which functions a little strange. It's kind of divided into two segments. There's one segment that goes over the driver and the second row seats, but then there's a broken up beam right there to divide a third panel up for the rear passengers. So it's a bit of an interesting layout, to say the least. But yeah, in terms of our sun visors here, we got vanity mirrors with illumination, and we detach and extend. And just let me check the passenger mirror real quick. Yep, vanity mirror and lights. We detach and extend. That is good to see. And the final thing left to discuss is the glove box right here. It is dampened. It is not lined with felt, but my God, is that glove box actually massive. Seriously, that's a big glove box. Good to see that. I guess that makes up for the lack of storage in the door pockets. Why can't I ever sit in the front? I'm a big boy too. Because you happen to have issues with behaving yourself. I mean, come on, your antics are causing me to lose views on these videos. What are you talking about? The internet just knows how adorable I am. I'm not buying it. Oh well, anyway, I guess I better do my job before you fire me. So alright, let's get this rear seat tour started. Starting on the door panel here, we got more soft touch material, so that means the material quality actually carried through. Yay! Leatherette, fake wood, fake aluminum. Actually, the door handle here is fake aluminum too, which is, it's a nice, this is supposed to be a nice car. Where's the nice materials? Oh well, I do appreciate the leather armrest and such though. Where's my auto up window? Door pockets, I think I can fit a water bottle in there, but they're still pretty small, but I like to see the speaker. Let's see what we got here. We got map pockets on both seats. In terms of what we've got for climate amenities, we got a third zone here, so we get our own climate controls separate from you. So while you can chill the front seats as much as you want, I can make it toasty hot back here. We do have a couple USB ports. I wish that they were Type-C, especially considering this is 2022 this thing was released. Why is there no Type-C? We don't even have a 12-volt power outlet back here. What? And then we also have, oh yeah, more climate controls. And oh no, are these blink buttons? That means there's heated seats available back here, and this car doesn't have them. What? Oh well, I do like these armrests here. The back seats are very comfortable, nice leather and such, and they got great adjustability thanks to this leather. Oh, that's some nice recline. Now let's see what the legroom is like. So the way the seats are currently configured is this is set to my driving position. Again, I am 5'8", and I got this seat scooted all the way back to see what maximum legroom is like for the second row. And yeah, I got gobs of space. It's plenty. But if we happen to move over to this seat where it's set all the way far forward and you've got the front seat set all the way far back, yeah, my knees are digging in the seat. They're definitely digging in the seat. It's a bit of a problem. But what if we check out the back seats? Because, oh, wait, this is only the second row of a vehicle. I have a third row I can romp around in. So thankfully, because this is a 7-passenger vehicle, I can easily get between the two captain's chairs without needing to fold them down, which is great if you have car seats in them. So, all right, let's see what maximum legroom feels like for the third row, which is this seat right here. I got a couple inches. My thighs are kind of up in the air just a bit because the floor is just a touch too high. You know what? This is actually fine, other than the seats are a tad flat and hard, which is a bit of a complaint. For amenities we have back here, we do have more USB A's. Again, I would like to see Type C's. We got storage pocket and cup holders on both sides. Did I mention all the vents that we had throughout the entire back seat of this, which is really nice? But yeah, legroom space back here. It's okay. It's serviceable as long as the seat's all the way forward. What happens if the seat's all the way far back? Actually, I don't fit. I can't get my knee in. I don't fit with the seat all the way back. I will say there's nice under seat space for your feet right there, so you got some room for your feet. But no, despite me being short at only 5'8", I cannot actually fit behind the seat. I will get stuck. Unfortunately, because this is actually on the larger end of the full-size crossover market, I don't think it's really going to improve from here if this seat needs to go all the way back for whatever reason. It's seat 7, so I can hold a party back here while my chauffeur drives me around even more. But something that my evil twin happened to have failed to mention, why do I still let him do backseat reviews is beyond me, but what he failed to mention is that there's another way to get into the third row, aside from the center pass-through. So let me open up the door right here, which, wow, this door opens up very widely, actually. See, let's say you happen to have a car seat here, and I believe this is also available as an 8-passenger vehicle. I don't think anybody ever gets these in the 8-passenger configuration, but let's say you have something blocking the way and you got a child seat in here. So if you mount a child seat in this seat and you need access to the third row, all you have to do is there's this lever, and this is only on the passenger seat, by the way. All you have to do is pull it forward like that, and you don't need to remove the child seat. You don't need to remove the booster at all. And then this gives you easy access to the third row, just like that. But then again, I reckon you're probably not going to use this a lot unless you do have a car seat that's, well, I don't see how it would be blocking the way. I would typically end up just using the center pass-through because that involves no mechanical things that can break and such. But hey, it's nice to know if you need it. Driving the Buick Enclave. So a funny story, some time ago before my mom bought her Yukon, she was actually looking at something, well, similar to this, but the previous generation, a little older so she could actually afford it. And then she ended up with a Yukon instead somehow. Not sure how exactly we got there, but I mean, hey, I can't complain. It's a Yukon Denali. But yeah, for a while she was looking at these Enclaves because my mom is big on Buick as well as me myself. I mean, I daily drive a Buick. Well, let's see. Let's try testing out passing power. Healthy. And they got rid of the V6 for the next gen?
Yeah.
Why? Driving very smoothly. I mean, that's one of Buick's shticks, unless you go for the Regal, which drives like a sports car, which is very strange for a Buick. This brake pedal, though, I'm not particularly digging it. It's really mushy. Aside from the mushy aspect, it feels kind of sticky, too. So let's test out ride quality, since this road's a bit rough. Oh, negligible. I just don't care. Yeah, the ride quality's nice and smooth. I should comment on visibility while it's on my mind. The hood's a bit tall, so I kind of question myself parking up close to walls and such. The side windows are massive. Absolutely huge. I can't complain about sideways visibility. I can see a lot. Mirrors are a touch smaller than I'd like. I'd like to see them just a touch bigger, but yeah, outward visibility is fine. Driving position, I think this would be my ideal driving position for something like this. Even though I'm higher up, I don't feel as high up as, say, if I were in a Suburban or a Yukon. I think that just has to do with the car nature of this general crossover platform. I am not going to get to test this thing's handling. Come on. What? Then again, I don't think I want to, because it's a big SUV. I've said it time and time again, these things don't like cornering so much. You're not in for a fun drive, but I will say you would be in for a relaxing one. And let's do a quick acceleration. Oh, there we go. Whoa! So obviously in a bigger vehicle, engines do need to work harder. So I'd be curious to see how hard that thing has to work. Because this is a V6, and for a full-size crossover like this is actually on the larger end of the segment. So, but overall power is good. It gets up to speed quick if you want it to. Yeah, that 9-speed automatic, it makes easy work of this thing. Yeah, overall driving dynamics, I would love to take a road trip in this, even though it's not a sedan, which might explain why my mom was looking at something like this. It's comfortable, it's high up, which apparently everyone cares about. Unless you're me. Seats are comfy, everything's smooth. What really is there to complain about the way this thing drives? It's excellent. It's an excellent formula, and I can see why so many people love these Enclaves. And now we come to the cardboard where we can score this vehicle. So starting off under the hood, in terms of our power, we get enough horsepower and torque to produce a 6 out of 10. In terms of transmission, we have 9 gears available, and it is refined enough to keep its 9 out of 10. Drivetrain, we have all-wheel drive on this. It is not standard equipment though, so it gets a 4 out of 10 for this. And it achieves a 0 to 60 time fast enough to give it a 6 out of 10. And for fuel economy, it's not particularly the greatest, but it's not awful either, and it gets a 5 out of 10, bringing us to a total of 30 out of 50 for under the hood. In terms of the weekend categories, this is probably where the scores are immediately about to fall apart. In terms of styling, it's, well, interesting. It's not the ugliest thing I've seen out there, but it's not the prettiest either, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 for that. Visibility was a very big surprise to me. I could see super well out of this car. My only complaint was just the tall hood, given the nature of this type of vehicle, but other than that, it gets a 6 out of 10 for visibility. And in terms of handling, oh, this car was not made for cornering at all, and I gotta give it a 2 out of 10. It's not dangerous, but do not drive this car like a sports car at all. Highly not recommended. And for fun factor, well, it's a luxury 3-row full-size crossover. Do you really think you're supposed to have fun in this vehicle? And no, not at all. That's why it gets a 1 out of 10 for this. And same goes for cool factor. Honestly, earlier generations I could argue were cooler. It's just the problem is Buick has been in the process of kind of ruining their reputation at this point, which is definitely not helping this vehicle's case at all, and it unfortunately is going to get a 1 out of 10. This is not particularly a car you want to drive for cool factor. It's just a nice full-size crossover with 7 seats in it, and so cool factor only gets a 1 out of 10, bringing us to a total of 14 out of 50 in the weekend categories. Again, normal cars typically don't fare well in this set of categories, but they do fare well, however, in the next set, the daily categories. Starting off with features, we got pretty reasonable amount of features in here, though we're missing a bunch of options as this is a mid-spec model, and I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 for that. In terms of comfort, it's a nice, big, full-size 3-row crossover, and the suspension is very nicely tuned. I gotta give it a 7 out of 10. This thing just rode so nice, and genuinely, I would not mind at all taking this vehicle on a road trip, and so, yeah, 7 out of 10 for that. Quality, the materials are not the nicest we've seen. I mean, it's a Buick, not a Cadillac, so we're going to expect a downgrade on that, but build quality is also pretty strong, and overall the materials are nice enough to give it a 5 out of 10. Practicality, due to this thing's size, well, the physical size of maneuvering this vehicle is probably the number one thing to dock it, but I mean, you got seating for 7, you got decent space when you need it, and you got relatively okay fuel economy without having to step up to a V8 powered full-size SUV, and as a result, I'm giving practicality an 8 out of 10. It just could use maybe slightly better fuel economy and also maybe better cargo capacity behind the third row. And in terms of value, well, considering where these things used to start at, they've fallen drastically in terms of value, and I'm not entirely sure where this is going. That and the particular model that I had had a strange asking price, albeit it's, well, GM's certified pre-owned, which means they're basically replacing all of the wear components and putting a warranty on it, which is nice. But at the same time, they're charging around $36,000 for this particular car, when the average market going price for these things I found on Auto Tempest is around $25,000. Again, this is similar condition and mileage. And so while yes, you did get a warranty, is it really worth $10,000? I don't know. The value of this car is relatively okay, but I wouldn't call it great or spectacular, and I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, bringing us to a total of 30 out of 50 for the daily categories. Add them all up, we get a grand total of 74 4 out of 150. Not the best, but not the worst either. It basically ends up in the middle of the pack, slotting between, well, the older GMC Terrain that I reviewed and the Chevy Equinox that I reviewed, albeit those are not 3-row crossovers, which I have not reviewed many yet. I'm in the process of getting more in the books, but give me time, guys. But actually, I'm relatively okay with this score. It's pretty decent. Not bad for a car like this at all. And I can really see why though people who buy these cars love them a lot. They're nice, big, and spacious and comfortable. And even though I'd argue that you're still not getting as much practicality as you would with a minivan, well, yes, those don't have a cool stigma with them at the moment, but just in general, Buick made a really nice full-size 3-row crossover that can seat up to 7 people. And I have to say this because you cannot say the same about the Cadillac XT6. And that basically wraps up this review. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below, and also do me a favor and check out my Patreon page. I would very much appreciate that. This is the Random Alpha Drive, signing out.